everybody, it's Jamie from Play to Learn Preschool. I hope you are having an awesome week. I have received a couple of emails from people recently saying things like, we really enjoy your videos and we have a lot of experience in preschool, but sometimes when you mention things, we don't know the terminology or we don't have necessarily the educational background to follow along for a couple of different topics. So I've made a little list of them, and I thought that I could do in the next couple of videos and go through some of the things that are more like technical educational jargon, just to kind of talk about why they're important and why it's important that we as teachers are really intentional with including them in our classrooms. So today, the topic is going to be concept of word, which is shortened often in books and journals and texts and everything as COW. We, as teachers, need to be so intentional about providing opportunities for our students to practice concept of word. So what I'm going to do in this video is explain what concept of word is, why it's important, and then give you a few examples of how we practice concept of word specifically with our pre-K students. So the students who will be starting kindergarten in August of 2019. So a lot of them are 5 or 4.5, or they might be on the younger side, but they're still starting kindergarten in less than a year. Okay, so what is concept of word? Is anybody familiar with that topic or that phrase? If so, feel free to chime in on the comments and help out everybody else who's watching. My background is I have my master's in reading education, so concept of word is in my everyday vernacular. So I'm going to kind of explain it to you and then answer any questions that you have. And if you have knowledge of it too, go ahead and chime in. Okay, so students go through different stages of learning to read. The very earliest stage, the stage that most of our preschoolers, I'd say 99% of them are in, is called the emergent stage of reading. Emergent readers, just as the name kind of conveys, are emerging in all of their literacy skills. One of the most important skills that is emerging during this emergent stage of pre-K literacy is concept of word. Pull those things apart and let's think about it. Concept, which means they could identify or define what a word is. Concept of word is a child's ability to say, oh, those letters all scrunched together with a white space at the beginning and a white space at the end, they make a word. Students who do not have concept of word, you might say, can you count how many words are in the title? And they either might say, huh? Or they might say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They don't know the difference between a letter and a word. So our job as pre-K teachers is to give them lots of opportunities to practice developing concept of word, to understand that when you group letters together, you can put a white space at the beginning and a white space at the end, and that makes a word. So here are some of the reasons why it's so important. First of all, as much as we might teach our students to identify their letters or make the letter sounds, if they do not know what those letters function for, to be put together to make words, then it's all for naught. Second, until students have a very firm concept of word, which means that they can point to each word and have one-to-one matching, they will not be able to begin reading as a beginning reader. They have to understand that letters grouped together make words. Words grouped together make sentences. And until they can do that, it's really a waste of time and developmentally inappropriate to be able to teach them to sound out words or to memorize sight words or anything like that. They're just not quite ready for it yet at the emergent stage. So the way that we practice emergent reading to develop concept of word is by giving them things to read that are memorized. That's the key. The text has to be memorized. In fact, as I'm going to show you, I often read it to them first and then have them echo it back to me. We are not asking these kids to sound out the words, to identify sight words, to blend sounds or know chunks and rhymes and onset, nothing like that. All we are practicing with these pre-K students is the ability to point to each word and have it match their speech. So one of my very favorite ways to practice is by giving pocket charts that have repeating, predictable text with heavy picture support. So this is the one that we're working on this week. We've told the story of the gingerbread man. And then our literacy activity during circle time this morning was reading this pocket chart. I told them what it said. I started it. I said, this is the story of the gingerbread man. Can you read it with me? And then they all said, the gingerbread man. And I said, every sentence is the same. Every sentence says, he ran by a, what do you think this word is? And they all yell, sheep. Good. Look, the next one is the same. He ran by a, what do you think the C word is? They all yell, cow. I'm like, you're such good readers. Wow. He ran by a, and they all yell, rabbit. And I said, no, it starts with a B. They yell, bunny. Good, you're such good readers. And we just go through and read the chart together. I might have them come up and put the picture cards in. We make it a little bit more interactive. And then during centers, they can use the pointer to come up and read the pocket chart. And I'll leave a little checklist over there that after they've read it, they can read it to me or read it to a friend, and we give them a little check mark that they've done that center. It's hard to see because of the way that the camera is set up. I'm always having camera problems. But the trick with concept of word is to always throw in one variable. So in this one, the last sentence is different. See if you can see it. The last sentence says, he did not run by a fox. And then I let the kids mix the animals up. So maybe this time the sheep is going to catch him. So then we put the sheep down there. And the kids can interact and move all of these words around. I try to do a pocket chart every week. It's always memorized, or I tell them what it is every single time. Only one word changes, and there's one variable usually at the end. Easy, easy, easy. And the goal of this activity, again, is not, in case you join me late, it is not to have them sound out the words. It is not to memorize the sight words. I'm not giving them flashcards with the word a or ran or bunny or anything like that. The goal is to get them to match their speech to the print 1-to-1. He ran by a sheep. I posted some video earlier in the school year, I think it was on Instagram, of my students doing this pocket chart reading. I have to go back, I forgot to look before I went live. I posted 4 or maybe 5 videos of different students, and they're in order of how far along this reading road the students are. So the first video shows that this child does not have good matching. The next one, the child sort of has it. The next one, kids who are developing concept of word will say something like this. He ran by a bunny. They'll do a 2-syllable, they think it's 2 different words. I have the very last video on the Instagram, and I'll post a link to it, I forgot to. The child gets to the end and realizes she's run out of words, and so she goes back and tries to fix it 3 times, correcting herself to try to get the speech to match the print 1-to-1. And so she's the farthest along at this point in my class. Here are some other activities that I like to do. So we do a pocket chart, and then I am very much a play-based preschool, and I know if you've watched my other videos, I've probably done 250, 300 videos on different play activities, and this seems a little bit more academic, but I assure you it's like part of our day during circle time, and then they can do it, the centers, during play, and we practice concept of word in other areas of the classroom too. But for my pre-K students, the ones who will start kindergarten in the fall, we also have a lunch bunch each week where they pack their lunch, and then I teach them to read a little lunch bunch book. So it's sort of separate from our preschool day. The lunch bunch books that I like to use are these high frequency readers. They're published by Scholastic and they're written by Gay Supinel. Most of them are, which obviously she's the one who wrote Guided Reading, if you're familiar with Gay Supinel. This is a set, I think there's 18 books, and they're in the Scholastic November pre-K catalogs this month. Or this year. Ooh, the camera just went wonky on me. So if you're looking for a good set, this is a really good set of books. And the pages are very predictable. I sometimes draw dots underneath the words to help my students track print, because especially at the beginning of the year, they're not very good with it. So they just read, I see crayons, I see scissors, and I try to do them about 3 or 4 of the same type of sentence in a row, like each week for about 3 weeks in a row. So we'll do all I see. They do I see scissors, I see crayons. We might do one where I spice it up a little bit and I say I see a hen, and I make these on like a little sentence strip with some pictures that they can flip up. I see a sheep. So the C is usually the one that I start with. We like to do like is the next word that I usually try to start all the sentences. So everything is I like pizza. This one flips open. I like milk, and they just flip through it. Sometimes I'll make them a sentence strip like this, where they can pick their favorite color, food, or whatever it is. So this one says, I like blue, and they practice reading it, no dots. Try to change it up and wean them off of the dots. And I'll say, I'm gonna do something really special with this. And this, if you're familiar with reading recovery, is totally a reading recovery activity. So I will just cut the words apart. And I said, look, your sentence actually made 3 words. I like blue. Let's mix them all up. Can you put the words together to make a sentence? And then they'll lay them down on the ground and try to put their words together to make a sentence. So I said, oh, you have 3 pieces in your puzzle. There's 3 words. Can you put them in order to make I like blue? As much as I love these books, there are a lot of times when I need more stories and more text, or the text that here is just not quite what we need. We need more practice with like or can or see or whatever it is. So I write a ton of books for my own kids. I've listed some of them on TPT, and most of them, like 100 of them, are just on my computer and they're not TPT ready. But this is the one that we did this week. I'll list it pretty soon, but it's called the Gingerbread Cookie. And so in this one, we had learned am last week. We had learned this book, Am, from the High Frequency Readers. So in this story, the little girl and her dog are playing, and it just says, I am running, I am jumping, I am building, I am climbing, each page. And so then this week, they needed more practice with am. They were not quite solid on am. We needed more practice. So this is the one that we did for Lunch Bunch this week. It's called the Gingerbread Cookie. I have this adorable clip art from Laura Strickland, where the gingerbread man is dressed up as different people. So it says, I am a cowboy. So I added that 4th word in there for them. I am a builder. I am a dentist. And again, they're using their reading finger to point to each word. I am a farmer. It goes through all of the different jobs that the gingerbread man. I am a firefighter. I am a waiter. I am a painter. And I added a 5th word on this one. I am a mail carrier. So they're really practicing tracking their print to their speech 1-to-1. And then the last page, like I said, you always kind of throw in a little variable on the last page, on the 8th page or whatever. It says, I am a cookie. Oh no! And the kids, of course, love that page because they see the gingerbread man as an occupation, community helper, and then they get to the end and he's on a cookie sheet. And my kids were like, when we were reading it, they said, what is he here? And they're like, he's on the pan. I'm like, I know, what is he? They're like, oh no, he's a cookie. That's right. It says, I am a cookie. Oh no! And they were so excited to read that then to their parents because they can take these home and keep them at home. So I write a ton of these little ones and I just print them off for my students because they have exactly the words that we're working on or exactly the same pattern of sentences that we've been practicing for the month. This one is a free one if you're looking for some printable downloads. There's a couple in my TPT store. This one's called My Silly Penguin. So the next word after we do am, we're gonna be working on can, which is hard for preschool students because they see the letter C and they say C instead of can. And so they get mixed up between the word C and the word can because the letter C, they say C and it's really can. So preschool students are still really trying to figure out literacy, but I just tell them what the sentences are and then they practice repeating them. So these little books, you can either print them in black and white and have the kids color them, or you can print them in color and then just send them home. Sometimes the coloring takes longer than the reading, and that is exactly the opposite of what I want. So this one, the penguin is doing different activities. My penguin can skate. My penguin can ski. My penguin can fish. So each page is my penguin can, my penguin can. And then the last page is always a little bit different, right? I always try to throw in a little variable at the end. So this one says, I love my penguin. Easy. But I write, 1,000 of these. I don't know, maybe not 1,000, I'm exaggerating, just to kind of go with whatever words. So like in November, we were still working on ICA, turkey. These are the ones that we're gonna be doing next week. This one is I like, which is a review. And then, like I said, we're gonna start working on this word can. It's Christmas, it's can you see the tree? And they just need a lot of practice. They have to memorize the text. So again, if you're just joining, they do not sound out the words. We're not doing sight words. We are not asking them to officially read. It's memorized text that they're pointing to try to get their speech to match the print one-on-one, one-to-one matching. The other things that I like to do sometimes if they get bored or they start to, not bored, but you know what I mean? Like they need something a little fresh is I'll give them these little like drink stirrers, magic wands, and they can point to the words with the magic wand on their book. At Halloween time, you need to buy these witch fingers because they're perfect for reading. They don't read the title, I read the title for them. Let's play. We like to dig, and they read like a witch finger. They also sell these little like googly eye guys. They're really big on my kid's finger. They fit perfectly on mine, but I might tell them that their reading finger is going to, look at the words, look at the words, look at the words. So any kind of little gimmick just to get them to point and say the words for the memorized text. The last thing I wanted to say is that concept of word is sort of an all or nothing event, sort of. I mean, they're always in the process of getting it, but once they get concept of word and they have it pretty solidly, so they'll start to like self-correct themselves, and then it clicks for most kids around the age of 6-ish. Concept of word clicks. And when they have solid concept of word, then they can do things like, in this sentence, can you find the word ran? And they'd be able to cover it up. In this sentence, can you find the word a? Cover it up. In the title, can you find a space between the words? And they're like, oh, there's a space right there. Students who have solid concept of word can do those things. When they have solid concept of word, we as reading educators like to say that this is a watershed, life-changing event in the life of an early reader. When they develop concept of word, COW, they've got it, then we can say, then they're ready to become a beginning reader. Then they're ready to start sounding out words. Then they're ready for sight words. Then they're ready for harder text. Until they have concept of word, it is a waste of our time to try to get them to sound out words. Don't do it. It's not important yet. They need to have this very solid concept of word to be able to say the sentence and match their speech one-to-one for each word. And then be able to find the spaces, isolate a word, put the sentences together. When they have all those things really solid, then they're a beginning reader. So for the most part, most of our preschool students are emergent readers. They need memorized text, poems, repeating predictable sentences, lots of things that they know how to read so that they can keep practicing matching speech to print in the classroom. So while we don't spend a ton of time each week on this, it's essential. It's really important that we practice it. Every day or every week we have some kind of a different poem or different pocket chart or different book that we work on, and that we as teachers are always watching for signs that our students are developing concept of print, that they are starting to match one-to-one. I'll continue to post more videos. I'll try to put them together and get them on Facebook. But if you do go over to Instagram, you can see some videos of my kids reading the pocket charts and reading the little flip books. And you'll start to notice, the different stages of development from younger students to older students as they get this idea in their head that each word is separated by a space. And we can match it with what we say. That's all. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. I will come back again. Like I said, I made a little list of terms and technology and jargon that people were interested in. I will come back and try to explain a few more. And in the meantime, as always, I hope you have fun playing and learning with your kiddos. I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.